Hello and welcome to Deep Six Wrestling's Glorious or Rotten. I am your host and everybody's favorite Deep Six champion, the Glorious Robbie Rotten, aka the Glorious One, aka Mr. Money in the Bank. We're doing this episode on Super Showdown, which aired from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I watched that show and then I immediately sang the Backstreet Boys for about 2 hours. That may sound like a joke, but I am not kidding. That's really what happened. If you enjoy our content, please subscribe to us here on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. Kicking off Super Showdown, we had the Universal Championship match between Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin, and I absolutely loved that Baron Corbin was announced as Jeddah's favorite son. That was hilarious. That really made me laugh. This got off to a little bit of a slow start, but it really started to pick up. Corbin is really underrated. That guy is deceivingly great. Rollins is one of the best in the world. These two had a really good match. Corbin did a really cool, flipping slam in the middle of the match I'd never seen him do before. Of course, he hit the deep six. It ended with a weird spot where Corbin and John Cone, the referee, were arguing, and then Corbin got rolled up by Rollins, and Rollins took the win, which of course Rollins was expected to win, but that was an interesting finish, and it kind of keeps Corbin in the running for the title, which is good because Corbin definitely deserves that spot. And then right after the match, Corbin hit Rollins with the End of Days, which is, of course, everybody knows is a devastating finisher. I don't think it's been kicked out of yet. If it has, maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen it been kicked out of. And then, of course, Lesnar came out teasing a cash-in, and he brought a steel chair, and then Heyman tripped coming into the ring, and that distracted Lesnar. And then Rollins was able to hit him with a low blow, and then destroy him with a chair, hit the curb stomp onto the briefcase, and successfully thwart Brock's cash in. The bell never rang, so Brock is still Mr. Money in the Bank, just like me. And the Brock party's going to continue. So, win. I would give this match a glorious. I'll give it an overall. The match was good. I wouldn't give the match by itself a glorious, but as a whole, the segment as a whole gets a glorious from me. Next up, we had possibly the match that I was anticipating the most. It was the Demon Finn Balor, who is the Intercontinental Champion, versus Andrade, obviously for the Intercontinental title. And Finn's Demon entrance is breathtaking, and this was no different. Anytime I've ever seen it, it's special. And I really wish they'd use it more often. I understand wanting to keep it special, but I think they should roll it out at least for the Big Four pay-per-views. It's kind of silly when he gets a title shot, especially against Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, and he doesn't bring out the Demon. It kind of doesn't make much sense, but it really worked here, and it's interesting. Only a couple people have really survived long in matches against Finn as the Demon, them being Rollins and AJ Styles, and Andrade actually lasted. I was kind of afraid this was going to be a squash, but it wasn't. Andrade really looked good. He is so smooth, so talented. He's a special talent. He could really go far. This match was really good. A couple more minutes and it would have been something really special, but it was still really good. Finn Balor picking up the clean victory with the coup de grace. Definitely the right move. But I think Andrade will eventually take the Intercontinental Championship from him. This gets a glorious from me. Absolutely. Next up, we have the big dog, Roman Reigns, against the best in the world, Shane McMahon. I love Shane McMahon. I think he has done a fantastic job all year, but this was too much for me. I think Shane McMahon got in way too much offense against Roman, who's supposed to be the best in the company. That's what he's booked as, and that's how he should have been booked in this match if they're continuing that. Shane really didn't get his ass kicked enough. Roman took too much of a beating. And for no reason, really. I mean, I get they're trying to sell Shane as the best in the world and keep him strong. But, why? And at one point, Michael Cole shouts out, "What a match!" And really, not really. I don't know what match he was watching. I mean, both of these guys are fine. I mean, Shane's not much of a wrestler, but he does some crazy things, so every now and then he's got one. But this wasn't it. There were a couple of nice spots. Shane had a nice, cool, innovative counter for the Superman punch. And then he actually hit a pretty good spear, which had a really good near fall, which actually had me going. I thought he was going to win for a second off that. Because it was really close. Roman didn't get his shoulder up to like 2 3/4. And then Shane won. Why? Stop it. That's not what should happen. I understand they're trying to build to what seems like Shane versus Roman again at Extreme Rules. And you know what? I would like to see a Shane McMahon versus Roman Reigns Extreme Rules match. But come on. Shane McMahon beating Roman Reigns, even though I know Drew McIntyre hit the Claymore. But still, come on. You could do better. Next up, we had Lars Sullivan against the Lucha House Party in a match that everybody was hotly anticipating. Or not. This was mostly what you would expect in the opening of the match, with Lars absolutely decimating the three guys, which has kind of been what's been going on so far. And then the House Party actually came back a little bit, and it seemed like Lars was on his way to a victory. And then the Lucha House Party kind of turned heel and beat up Lars. I mean, obviously they didn't really turn heel, but it's kind of a heel move. You're supposed to be the baby faces. You beat down the guy 3-on-1? What? Lars winning by DQ? Really? I don't know. This did not work for me. Lars is kind of doomed at this point, with his scandal, it happened. It's kind of tough to get behind him. I really enjoyed what he was doing, and then that came out and kind of killed him dead. This one gets a rotten for me. What else can I say? Rotten. Next up, we had a match that seemed plucked straight from 2009. We had Randy Orton versus Triple H. Orton came out to a massive pop, one of the biggest pops of the night, if not the biggest. Triple H had, another cool motorcycle-y laser entrance. His entrance is always great, but he seems to like to step it up on big shows. And they're treating this as a big show. Bigger or as big as WrestleMania. Yay. You know what, though? These two actually had a good match. It started out slow and methodical, typical Triple H match, but you know what? It had really good psychology throughout. The commentators really, really did a good job of selling Randy Orton's resentment towards Triple H from kicking him out of Evolution in 2004 after he won the world title. And, this was really good. There was some cool stuff. There was a punt tease. We don't see that very often, Randy Orton going for the punt. I'd love to see him connect one of these days, but I don't know if it'll ever happen again. Which led to a good near fall with a pedigree. The really good finish with the RKO out of nowhere. It was a good one, though. It really was pretty much out of nowhere. And Randy won. The right man went over. The match was a little long, but it really was good. Definitely a lot better than I expected, and this one gets a glorious for me. Next up, we have Bobby Lashley, the Almighty, versus Braun Strowman. I thought Braun would get a bigger response here than he did, considering he was such a beast in the Greatest Royal Rumble last year, but it was a little underwhelming. I found it kind of hard to care about this, especially when the match started, but, I mean, it was better than I expected. Lashley definitely looked really impressive here. He's really strong. Did some impressive things. He hit a running power slam on Braun and with looked effortless. And Braun is a huge guy. Then he hit another suplex on the steel. I don't know. It's the ramp, like right where the ramp and the walkway right to the ring connect, and it was really cool. I wouldn't say this was good, but I wouldn't say it was awful either. It didn't really overstay its welcome, so it was fine for what it was. And Braun picked up the win. Whatever. Next, we had the WWE Championship match between Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler. Michael Cole mentioned a really interesting fact at the beginning of this match that Kofi and Dolph have faced each other for every championship actively in the company except for the Universal title, and I thought that was cool. I never really thought about it, and yeah, that's really cool that that's happened. These two have really good chemistry. Obviously, they've been working together a lot, and they've had a lot of matches together, and they definitely showed that off in the early stages of the match. Unfortunately, this match was kind of short, and it had kind of a questionable finish with Xavier Woods getting involved and actually costing Dolph, not technically really the win, but he ended up hitting Dolph with, I think, an enziguri, and then Dolph turned around to the Trouble of Paradise. I mean, Dolph did hit Xavier with a super kick earlier on, but still, I don't know. That's a little weird to me, especially since Kofi's been booked so strong throughout his title reign, and even before that, he kind of needed help to win. That's a little bit weird to me. But I was wishing earlier that this would actually be a real feud for the championship, and it kind of looks like I'm getting my wish because it seems like they are building towards an actual feud, as they have now booked a steel cage match at Stomping Ground, which is the next pay per view in June. And hopefully they will have a full match and actually not disappoint. Still good match, but definitely way too short. Next up, we had the 50-man Battle Royal. That's right, 50 men. I don't know. That's a lot of men. And when you looked at the ring full of all these men, it was comically full. The eliminations at the beginning came really quick. Obviously, they needed to clear some space. And I think 50 was just too many. This match was too long. The middle was such a slog. It felt like forever, and it was just mostly just random people too. Um, and I love battle royals. I'm such a sucker for battle royals. The Royal Rumble is my favorite pay per view of all time, my favorite match ever. But this was too much. There were a couple of cool things like the AOP and the Viking Raiders with their little showdown in the middle of the match was pretty cool, actually. I'm definitely intrigued to see that matchup in the future. The final 10 or so people definitely was right. It was all people that made sense. Cesaro and Samoa Joe and The Miz and Elias were all in there. Then Mansoor, who is, I guess, the local boy from Saudi, he was fairly impressive. Um, he won, and the crowd went absolutely nuts. Um, I would rather have seen someone like The Miz get rewarded for their hard work, but I guess this was kind of like a happy ending type thing for the people of Saudi Arabia. Uh, I don't even know how to rate this as a battle royal. It wasn't great. I'm gonna give it a rotten. It was too long, too much. Stick to 30 or less. And then we had the main event from 1999. We had The Undertaker versus Goldberg. Their entrances were really good. The crowd ate it up, and Undertaker had a really big pop on the same level, probably actually bigger than Randy's. Um, Goldberg entrance had they had like balloons spelled out his name. I thought that was kind of funny. And Goldberg had like caskets on the stage with like druids with torches and stuff. It was really cool. Undertaker's entrances are always cool, but this was really cool. They had an intense stare down when the bell rang, and then it all went downhill from there. They really struggled. They really struggled to hit convincing moves. Goldberg hit a couple of spears off the bell, and those look good. And then after that, no. These guys are in their 50s, and it showed. Undertaker hit a really bad choke slam. And then after that, Goldberg just got busted open, and then Undertaker hit a really bad tombstone where he spiked Goldberg's head, and that was not good. After that, Goldberg hit the worst jackhammer of all time. It looked like a really scary, really dangerous brain buster you might see on the independent scene. Indie nerds. And then Goldberg went for like, I think he was going for like a tombstone. You know how sometimes Undertaker's opponents do that. And he didn't. Undertaker tried to counter it into a tombstone of his own and then fell really awkwardly. And then you'd think Undertaker would just recover and try and hit him with another tombstone. No. He goes for another choke slam. And oh my God. This was the worst, most pathetic choke slam I've ever seen in my life. He just kind of like picked him up like a foot and kind of dropped him down. I don't know whether this was more Goldberg's fault or more Undertaker's fault or both of them, because they were weak from... They wrestled for like 9 minutes. That's too long for these old guys. I mean, I love and respect The Undertaker more than almost any other wrestler ever. But this man is... It's past his time. Just let him retire. And Goldberg should never have come back in the first place. He had some decent matches with Brock. You know, that was fine. But they were like under 5 minutes. Goldberg can't do more than that. Especially over 50 years old. He could barely do it when he was in his prime. This was ugly. It was ugly and sad. And it never should have taken place in 2019. Oh, this was not a good way to end any show, especially one that's supposed to be better or great or as good or almost as good or mildly equivalent to WrestleMania. Needless to say, this match was vile, disgusting. It was rotten. Rotten. And I'm sad to have even seen it. Thank you so much for watching. I have been the glorious Robbie Rotten for Deep Six Wrestling. Have a glorious day.